Welcome to Reddit's Edit. Please like and subscribe. People who have been in abusive relationships. What was the first red flag? When you find yourself not telling friends or family about things your SO has done, the way you're being treated, because they wouldn't understand, and you don't want to make your SO look bad. Looking back, there were so many red flags earlier, but the one I first realized at the time was when we had gone shopping, and it had started pouring down rain out of nowhere. Everything is your fault if you're in an abusive relationship, according to your abuser. Neither of us had an umbrella or anything, because the weather had changed so rapidly. He then started screaming at me in the train station so badly one of the security guards had to intervene. I realized I was 18 years old, in the prime of my life, and was stood here, crying and apologizing to a man for the weather, while strangers attempted to diffuse his anger at me, fearing the consequences. That same night a woman sat next to me on the busy train, held my hand quietly as he screamed at me across the aisle. Edit. Thanks everyone for your concern and well wishes. The first red flag isn't an obvious one, but essentially, if somebody makes you afraid of bringing up a problem you may have with them, or responds automatically mean as shit / defensive as heck, get away. Within a relationship, you have the right to bring up a conversation on something that may bother you in a calm manner, and that person should respond to you accordingly. Fights will happen, yes, but you should be able to talk to each other without it being a fight at the first few mentions of something that may potentially challenge them. In my last relationship though, I came to see everything he was doing to manipulate me came to a head when I caught him in a massive lie. When I told him you lied to me, by the way, and listed the reasons why he lied to me, he simply repeated over and over I didn't lie. But he did. Mine would say horrible things to me, like I should go kill myself, that if I died nobody would miss me, etc. Of course afterwards he would apologize and get upset with me. If I was still upset, he would tell me to just let it go. I brought it up many times, how his words were breaking my heart, and begged him to stop saying those things to me. It would only happen when he was angry, so I did my best to avoid making him angry and avoid arguments. After 10 years of it, I couldn't take it anymore. The comments rose to how I was a burden, that my family abandoned me cause they didn't love me, they left back to our home country for other reason. I finally got the courage to leave not too long ago. It was the best decision I ever made. It took me way too long to see that it's not love and that I deserve better. His words and actions have left a toll on me, but I'm working on that within myself now. Not even a big thing in retrospect. That's how it starts. Our first real argument was regarding my response to a letter he was sending to his professor complaining about a poor grade he'd gotten on an essay. The letter was riddled with spelling and grammar mistakes. I remember suggesting he changed could have to could have. He absolutely lost his shit. Started telling me that I was trying to ruin his self-confidence, that I wasn't supporting him, that how dare I tear apart his grammar. I backed down and apologized. Let's break the notion that you'll be able to notice the first flag, because abuse doesn't work like that. There are many flags that are considered abusive, but anyone can have a one-off. Your SO was jealous one time. That's not a flag. The first thing I notice that almost always leads to abuse is a disregard for your feelings and the notion that they know what's best for you. For example, my ex told me in the beginning that if I ever cheated on him, he'd kill me. It may not be entirely normal, but enough people say it jokingly that you might not look twice. But he kept saying it. And eventually I told him how much it bothered me, that it wasn't funny, and he'd apologize and quit for a day or two, but he'd always continue. That was the first time I noticed how he'd disregard my feelings. My little sister is in a new relationship. He's doing the same thing. She is skinny, and she has some health issues that the doctors are trying to figure out, but sometimes eating physically hurts her. Her boyfriend vacillates between making her eat when she's not hungry and yelling at her when she eats something he doesn't approve of. For example, she wanted a Monster. He told her it was unhealthy and whined at her to the point that she put it back. He told her she should drink flavored water instead. She said no, but he bought one for her anyway and made her drink it. It doesn't sound bad right now, but when someone takes your autonomy and makes your choices for you, it's not a good sign. For me, the very first red flag was not communicating finances. We were married. He would give me a certain amount to spend, but never wanted me on his bank account. I had my own, but we had agreed on joining accounts, which is why I transferred my money to his, since it had better interest rates, bank, etc. I had no access to my own money. It took him 6 months and a threat of divorce to be put on the account. And then I saw it. He had lost all of our money by spending it on his damn self. I couldn't do anything. I could even put food on the table or put gas in our cars. The second red flag was when we adopted a puppy. This was after I began a finance boot camp with him. The puppy would cry at night. X had a temper. I heard him storm into the living room, open the kennel, and shake the dog yelling, "I will feffing shoot you if you don't shut the F up." I shot out of bed, grabbed the dog, told him he would do no such thing, and left to stay with a friend. Another one was when we were play wrestling and he pinned me down so hard my arms started going numb. I told him to get off of me and then kneed him in the back. He punched my face. I was stunned and told him, "Didn't your mother ever teach you not to hit a woman?" "Nope, they're fair game and you look like you can handle your own anyways." The immense guilt trip I received any time I did something for myself. Driving over to a friend's place for coffee, going on a weekend trip to the beach, going to my family's. It was ridiculous. There were other red flags as well, but these were the top 3 I could think of. It wasn't until I told my chain of command some of these things that they sent me to victim advocacy. I had to be told that I was a victim of abuse. We, obviously, have since divorced, and I'm now happily remarried to someone who believes we are partners in life. Together, we balance each other out. The first red flag is the person having an opinion about every single thing you do, and every single person you talk to, like they need to be hands-on in all your dealings and activities like they are your parent or some shit. Normal people don't want to coach your life, only effed up people do. The casual passive-aggressive comments he would drop in normal conversation. Then the comments would become more direct, then mean, and finally just cruel. And once he saw that I would accept those, well, the floodgates of abuse just burst open. When they start using your emotions to manipulate you. It's very subtle at first, but then it gets worse and worse. My ex-girlfriend from a few years ago was abusive. I think people often overlook it when women treat men that way, and it's unfortunate, because it exists more often than people think. He need to question everything I did, and everyone I liked. The constant need to make me question them. None of my pre-existing friends were good to me in her eyes. The need for my constant undivided attention every single waking hour. Not being able to trust me yet doing all of the things that made me untrustworthy, i.e. taking my phone to the toilet. Making me feel shit about myself. Constantly. But also making me believe she was the only one who didn't make me feel shit. I don't know about the first, because it was also gradual over the course of a few years. Things were fantastic in the beginning, but the shifts caught me off guard. Also, I was a young adult and have moved out of home for the first time. It was my first real relationship, and I was stupid and blind. Some highlights. So clingy. Had to literally spend every minute together or else it would be a fight, because we are drifting apart, because I spent an afternoon reading a book. Telling me I wasn't raised correctly, nitpicking every little behavior, telling me that I was something he needed to fix, because I was so messed up. Using my anxiety and depression against me. Pressuring me to do drugs. Constant cheating accusations. Not allowed to have friends. Could only be friends his friends. Picking fights with me over tiny things, escalating them to the point of making me cry. And then look how crazy you're acting, you bitch. Fights would only end if I apologize and promise to do better. Even if I was not in the wrong. He just liked to exert that control. He suddenly hated my family for no reason. Me visiting them resulted in such huge fights and violence that I just avoided it. Despite the fact that my family lived 5 minutes away. He was unemployed and a drug addict, but he'd get so angry with me for choosing my job over him because I refused to skip work. Breaking up with me constantly, instantly retracting as soon as I'd agree. Lots of sobbing and begging to change on his end. This became an every other day occurrence toward the end. Refused condoms, no birth control, because it f's with your body. Like seriously, your cocaine addiction doesn't though. So yeah, obviously I got pregnant. Had no say in anything, including my child's name. He also pressured me to do drugs while I was pregnant, but I never gave in to that. His addiction was my fault because I couldn't stop him. Same with the drinking. He would get blackout drunk, pick fights with me, and trash the house. Things escalated to physical abuse on almost a daily basis, threatening to kill himself if I ever left. Eventually that graduated to threats of killing me and my son too. There's so much more, but it's stressful to write about even though it's been over 8 years. I'm grateful to my son because even though he didn't come through the best of circumstances, he gave me the strength to finally leave when he was born.